Late last year, Nairobi was host to the World Economic Forum focusing on ICT and its role in fast-tracking development on the back of Africa's economy, which is steadily growing at an average rate of between 5 and 6% per annum.
Well, I think that what a lot of people don't realize is that Africa's GDP is actually 3.3 trillion, which makes it something like the fourth largest economy in the world. So the world is beginning to understand that the potential of Africa is for investment, for development, and other positive aspects of how it should be viewed, as opposed to the negative aspects that it's been viewed at in the past.
There is increased communication across the divide between developed and developing countries through, for example, the Open Government Partnership, through fora at a global level, including at the United Nations, but also through new ways in which organizations are now collaborating with each other.
The event brought together ICT experts to discuss opportunities and challenges within the sector. Actualization of innovations from virtual spaces to implementation was notably a key concern for many.
We're increasingly seeing the application of ICT in areas of socioeconomic interest, whether it be health or education or finance or energy. But at the moment, so many of these great new ideas are stuck in what we call a pilot phase. So they're stuck subscale, potentially delivering profound impact at a very small level, but real challenge in how we move that from small scale local impact to substantial national or international impact.
Development experts feel that time is long overdue for ICT to be seen as a necessity rather than a nice to have.
I think we've long passed the stage of asking the question of whether we've arrived at a point of considering ICT. We already have been here. We needed to do this yesterday. ICT has been proven to be a very effective means of connecting people, of enabling development of especially very poor people, not just through communication, but through the ability for things like transfer of monies, transfer of technologies, education, health. I mean, there are lots of opportunities that ICT provides. And therefore, the question is not whether or not we've got there. We already have been arrived at a point where we need to consider it very seriously.
The emergence of smart cities like Kenya's Konza Technopolis shows a growing demand for information. However, policy formulation to address rapid urbanization with the mushrooming of such cities will be critical.
Urbanization is not an if question. It's already happening, and it's going to continue happening. There's going to be increased growth in urban areas. Secondly, we should also recognize that poverty exists in sometimes to great depths in urban areas. So a key focus of all development practitioners across development actors has to be with how to deal with proper planning of these growing cities, because they will definitely grow. The question is, how do we ensure that that growth is planned? How do we ensure that poverty, which is persistent in certain enclaves within these cities, is addressed? And also, how do we ensure that when mega cities grow, new ways of dealing with development approaches are explored and exploited, and this is where ICT again could be one of the possible areas of intervention.
I think one of the key focus areas for policymakers is and should continue to be a question of inclusive growth. So how do you ensure that opportunities across any industry, across any sector, are translated in recognizing the value of the resources that are just at your doorstep. So even within slums, there's tremendous amount of access to human capital, skills, capabilities that are underexploited. And they're underexploited for a whole range of reasons. If we bring technology into the equation, I think there are opportunities for technology to support identifying and accessing some of that talent in ways that we haven't before. Thinking about opportunities for companies to be able to engage a broader base of the population as suppliers, as consumers, as distributors, in a whole range of different ways that haven't before.
For the impact of ICT to be realized, experts at the forum agree that business training for innovators will be critical for commercial viabilities of their ideas to be realized.
From a development perspective, the challenge of small-scale solutions being taken to scale. So we're seeing a number of ecosystems being created to support budding entrepreneurs, particularly within the technology space. I think there are over 2 or 3 dozen hubs across the continent, and Nairobi alone I think has over a dozen that are popping up. And so exciting to see these kinds of spaces come in for new ideas to develop and evolve. But there's still a challenge around how do we take those small-scale solutions to a more substantial scale so that they're having meaningful impact and are built in a way that's sustainable.